It's Ahsoka time, yet again. Episode 4. We open with Sabine and, what's his name? Trying to contact their New Republic allies. But it's no use. Ahsoka and the gang are on their own. Ahsoka suggests that if it comes down to it, they may have to risk destroying the map, so that Thrawn and Ezra will remain trapped wherever they are forever. Because even though we're supposed to like Ezra, risking Thrawn's return would simply be too dangerous for the galaxy. Keep that in mind for later. We then get some epic foreshadowing.
Can I count on you?
You know you can.
We then find out that an enemy spy is literally standing 10 feet away listening to all this. Ahsoka probably could have used her force powers to sense him, or she could just look around, but it's a good thing she didn't, because now the plot can move forward. Then the bad girl's like, we found the good guys, and the bad guy is like, go kill the good guys, and she's like, okay, and then she goes. It's a super necessary scene to establish motivations or something. Anyway, then the bad guys are back behind these same trees undetected, meaning we probably could have cut out that whole last scene, but the more content, the better, right? We then get more epic foreshadowing.
Don't worry about me.
I'm not.
Good.
Should I be?
Then Ahsoka doubles down and is like, you better be ready to abandon your friend Ezra, because our feelings shouldn't get in the way of doing what's right. One could argue that this is out of character for her, but another could argue that continuity isn't a priority for these writers.
This thing I was recording is Darth Maul for this audiobook, and it wasn't, strictly speaking, consistent with something that we did in Clone Wars.
Right.
And I said, Dave, what should I do? Should I tell them to change the line? Should I blah, blah, blah? What do you think? How do I solve this problem? And he just said, Sam, it's good if the stories are different. But what do you mean? It has to be consistent. He's like, no, it doesn't.
I'll remind you that they don't know for sure if Thrawn or Ezra are even there, or alive, or what kind of state they're in at all. They just believe this map might lead to where they are. When we last saw them, they were both getting light speed blasted straight into their unprotected faces, so it could be easy to assume that they died. But even if they somehow survived this, it would also be safe to assume that they might have killed each other. The space whales might have even killed Thrawn. The environment they were transported to might not be sustainable, or they might not have stayed put in said environment for the many years that they spent there. But despite these unlikely odds, according to Ahsoka, the map isn't worth exploring at all, because Thrawn is just that dangerous. Suddenly, we're in BattleBots. Thankfully, this evil droid didn't just shoot the good one when he wasn't looking, because this fistfight is much more entertaining. But then Sabine steps in and ruins the fun. The bad guys finally figured out how to shoot their guns, but thankfully for Sabine's sake, she was wearing her plot armor, and so the bad guys are easily defeated. This scene added a lot to the story. Anyway, the girls go back to what they were doing before, and go out to find the map, but not before Droid Friend dishes out more epic foreshadowing.
May I make one request of you both? Stay together. You always did better that way.
I wonder what will happen. We then cut to Ula, who wants to find Ahsoka and help her. But this guy is like, but you have orders and meetings and such. But she's just like, nah, and ignores him.
But you can't leave without authorization.
Watch me.
This scene further connects the original films to the sequels, as we get more of an understanding as to why the New Republic failed to maintain order. It's because their military is full of undisciplined idiots that constantly disobey orders.
Mom, how come I have to do what I'm told and you don't?
Well, when you're a general, you can disobey orders too. Until then, buckle up.
Wow, that is a real line in the show.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
She then sets sail alongside these other people that joined her for some reason. Darth Santa reveals himself to be an edgy atheist.
Faith. I lost that a long time ago.
The witch then uses her witch powers on the map.
Witchcraft.
Then they make poor Rosario Dawson struggle with more running scenes. After that, they stumble into a tag team match against Darth Eilish and Darth Ninja. And look what immediately happens.
Stay together.
Wow.
Come on, woman, let's go. Show some urgency. Last time you left your apprentice to fight alone, she got a hole in her lung. For some reason, the one with the blade is trying to create distance from the one with the gun. Seems backwards to me, but we're gonna roll with it. Darth Ninja gives everyone at home an epileptic seizure.
Seizure procedure!
And then he dies.
Okay.
And now it's 2-on-1. With this advantage, our heroes could take down Darth Eilish in no time at all.
Go! Get the map! Got this.
Oh, okay, never mind. I guess that would have made too much sense.
Stay together.
The witch pushes some buttons, tells Darth Santa not to move, then walks away. Yet another super necessary scene. Then Ahsoka shows up, and Santa talks to her about Anakin becoming Darth Vader. Santa gives a cliche villain monologue.
One must destroy in order to create.
Then they stand around for a long time, meaning once again we have a chance to take a bathroom break. Then they fight. Then they stand around. Then they fight. Then the witch looks at some stuff. Rock attack. Then Sabine gets defeated by an elbow. But then she uses the Force to quite literally bitch slap her enemy. Then Sabine shoots at her and causes her to drop her lightsaber.
Butterfingers.
Ahsoka performs some interesting choreography. She then willingly uses the map to burn the flesh off her hand. You could just put it down or slap it away or something. Oh well. Darth Eilish escapes with a smokescreen. Not sure why Sabine didn't just shoot her while she had the chance. But, oh well. Darth Eilish tries to get the map, but suddenly Darth Santa decides to stop fighting so that Ahsoka can throw her into a rock. Then Sabine gets the map, but then Santa pushes Ahsoka off a cliff. Then he asks Sabine if she wants to use the map with him, to which she says, sure. Darth Eilish chokes her a bit, but then she stops. Ula Syndulla and her gang of rebels appear. However, the bad guys use the Halo ring to travel to the map's location. Only it takes a really long time to get going. Once they do jump, it makes a big boom that kills all the rebels that don't have names. Then the little boy gets a bad feeling.
I've got a bad feeling.
The show then closes out with Ahsoka mysteriously appearing in a familiar place, next to a familiar person.
Anakin.
Episode 5. This one is mostly filler, but we'll still cover it just so you guys at home can stay in the know. We open with Ula trying to find Ahsoka. Her son walks out and asks if he can leave the ship. Ula has not yet surveyed the area to make sure it's safe, but that doesn't stop her from saying yes. Immediately after that, she signals to him that there could be danger nearby. At this point, you may wonder why she even brought her child here to begin with, but shush yourself. Every good general brings her child to the front lines. It's not like death matters in this universe, so who cares? It's also worth pointing out here that the droid next to the child is Chopper. Chopper is basically a ratchet R2-D2, who has a bad attitude and is thrown together with scraps, because the rebels had limited resources to maintain him with. But now that the war is over, and the rebels have all the money and power they could ever want, he's still ratchet because he has to maintain his brand. Ula investigates the area, while her child crouches for safety in this completely open and vulnerable position. But thankfully it's only Huyang lingering nearby with Sabine's plot armor.
I told them to stay together, but they never listened.
How profound. He said stick together, but they did not stick together. We then cut to Ahsoka while she's in the whimsical bullshit realm, where somehow Anakin has returned. But he's technically not really back, because this is sort of a dream, and it's kinda not real. But it is real enough for them to be able to wheel out Hayden Christensen anytime they want now, with him talking and acting as if he were still alive. So it's basically the same thing. Want more Anakin scenes? Just give Ahsoka more half-dreams. Anakin calls Ahsoka an old hag.
You look old. You lost a fight.
I don't remember.
Trust me. You lost.
He says he's here to ambiguously finish her training, so she says,
All right.
and then they slap glow sticks. Meanwhile, the others are just kinda hanging out. They say Leia is covering for their absence, but they do have to be quick because she can only do it for so long. Though I'm pretty sure once you disobey orders and waste military lives and resources like this, there's no amount of time out there that would save you from not being tied up and shot by your superiors. But oh well, let's roll with it. Little boy activates his bullshit feeling powers in order to move the plot forward. Then he teaches his mother how to use the Force, because that's just a thing we can do now. This pilot acts as a stand-in for the audience.
What am I missing? What just happened?
Jason has abilities. His father, Kanan Jarrus, was a Jedi.
Okay.
Later, Anakin sends Ahsoka to the magical realm of Easter eggs and references. Look at all these costumes and characters and vehicles and name drops, how fun! This is the gold standard example of how to get people to clap for your show on Twitter. Are you struggling to give your show meaning and substance? Well, you didn't need any of that nonsense anyways. Instead of all that, just dogpile that show with references. People want references. Nothing matters but references! And man, seeing young Ahsoka in live action really makes you realize that yeah, the Jedi really do just be sending child soldiers to the front lines and force them to suffer the hardships and traumas of war. Between that and the brainwashed slave army, it makes you feel a little less bad to know that these people and their culture got wiped out. We then cut to the Republic rebels as they establish that they are burning through their fuel despite finding nothing.
Maybe those senators were right. They got us out here chasing ghosts.
Maybe you should ponder these things before you lead people to their deaths. And Hu Yang tells the audience why they like Ula despite her reckless crimes.
You do things your way because you care. This is why people like you.
Chopper says you're gonna have to get low.
How low?
We cut back to the magical Easter egg realm, where Ahsoka and Anakin talk about nothing.
This was the siege of Mandalore. We had parted ways by now.
Looks intense.
It was.
You did well.
Honestly, there is nothing. Ahsoka wasn't shown to have any prior character flaws that would necessitate this training, and she doesn't undergo any meaningful change after it ends. It's just pure member berries. The only impact this dream has on the overall story is that by the end, Ahsoka says this:
I choose to live.
And then she suddenly revives herself, after having been drowning under the ocean for the past 24 hours. I don't know if you can tell by my tone, but this is really good content. Ahsoka has saved Star Wars. It's been lost for a while there, but this shit is what it was missing. Suddenly, a pilot dives into the water to rescue Ahsoka. She doesn't need any level of safety equipment to help her perform this rescue, because she's a strong, independent woman that don't need no air. Ahsoka spends a long time waking up. Bathroom break? Take your time, because in the next scene she falls unconscious and wakes up again for a third time. She then implements this bath towel into her costume, because in this world you either drip or drown, and boy, she ain't drowning. She then activates her bullshit powers to advance the plot, and learns that the villain's left with Sabine, and Ula orders her to find out how to follow them. This leads to some of the best Star Wars content ever made. In order to find Sabine, Ahsoka just kinda looks around. Then she sees a space whale. Then she gets a great idea. Meanwhile, Ula is on the phone with her superiors. When they ask her if her mission has yielded any results, she correctly says no. Then they state that if nothing comes from this mission, she will be permanently suspended from the military. And she gets this dramatic, surprised look on her face, as if that news was in any way shocking. All things considered, that's honestly a pretty generous punishment.
Baby girl got so much cake!
Ahsoka declares that she knows how to find Sabine. She and the gang then fly up to a space whale. She then sticks her hand out at it to imply that something is happening. This takes an extremely long time to happen. Other very diverse Republic ships show up, and the pilot guy needs to stall them for some reason. So we get a fun batch of the comedies.
Captain, the reason we are here is because there was no mission.
I respectfully disagree.
This also goes on for a super necessary long amount of time. The space whale then opens up its mouth and Ahsoka hops in. Why does she do this?
You're certain they know where Sabine was taken?
I have no idea.
I'm sorry, what?
No idea. We'll just see where it goes.
Ma'am, are you out of your freaking gourd? Are you fucking mad? Why is this Finding Nemo all of a sudden? What sort of dots do you have to connect to draw this conclusion? Her method of finding Sabine, who just left the galaxy, was to stand there and look around until she saw a whale. Then she stuck her hand out at the whale, which apparently yielded 0 results, despite taking up tons of screen time. Then she crawled in its mouth, and just sat there, hoping that it would take her exactly where she wants to go, which just so happens to be outside of the galaxy, by the way. She's just gonna park her ship on the whale's tongue, while everyone else ogles at them because of how beautiful they are. Then the space whales are going to make hyperspace jumps, which is another whole can of worms we have to unpack, and our heroes are just going to sit there and hope that everything works out fine. And guess what? It does work out exactly how they hope it would. They get transported to the exact location of Thrawn and Ezra in this new galaxy. Thrawn and Ezra are both still there, still alive, and this new environment is just as safe and hospitable as any other planet in the first galaxy. Isn't that just convenient? I'm getting a bit ahead of myself though, because this episode ends just as the whales are starting their jump. Now, dear viewers, I won't lie to you. This is some wildly stupid shit, and it makes me angry to know that there are many people out there that defend this crap, swearing that this is good content. With that said, this is meant to be a positive review, so atrocious writing and storytelling aside, let's focus on the good stuff. I love that these space whales are a thing. I know that they were introduced in the Rebels show, but seeing them in live action really makes you ponder the implications that intergalactic traveling animals could add to this pre-existing lore. Like, we're just hoping and assuming that these things know where they're going when they make these jumps, but what if they didn't? Keeping the Holdo maneuver in mind, what if every time a space whale hyperjumps, it always takes the risk that it could either obliterate itself or any foreign object that gets in its path, be it a ship, a planet, or otherwise. Imagine instead of getting blown up by the Death Star, Alderaan got destroyed because a school of space whales accidentally plastered their planet to bits because they randomly decided to careen themselves across the galaxy at the speed of light, and that planet just happened to be in their way. Imagine Darth Vader acting all scary and menacing in his Star Destroyer, then all of a sudden, whoops, a space whale blasts its way through and turns the whole thing into paste in an instant. Oh, there goes the chosen one. Isn't that such an amazing idea? Star Wars as a work of fiction has been objectively improved with the introduction of the possibility that at any given moment, anyone in the galaxy could get obliterated due to a space whale randomly deciding to piss missile itself in that direction. Hyperspace traveling whales. A concept so dumb that it's brilliant. And Dave Filoni is an absolute mad lad for committing to this story beat. The only criticism I have is that this show would have had a better ending if as soon as Ahsoka tried to blast off with this whale, her ship just gets violently projectile to the back of his throat and turned to dust. Anyway, episode 6. We open with the space whales traversing the stars with Ahsoka and Hu Yang riding shotgun. The physics required in order to make this method of travel possible raises a lot of questions that will go unanswered. Hu Yang refers to the creatures as star whales.
Intergalactic travel within a star whale. Now I really have done it all.
I initially called them space whales as a joke, but apparently that wasn't far off. While sitting in this whale, the two have nothing to do, so they just make awkward small talk.
I still have those stories in my archive memory. Would you like to hear one?
Not right now.
Riveting. Ahsoka also triples down on believing that Sabine was wrong for not wanting to leave Ezra to die alone. Eventually we get more Easter eggs to satiate the fanboys.
On second thought, tell me one of those stories.
Very well. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Later, we get a long, drawn-out shot of Sabine sleeping in this very natural, very human position. She proclaims her own stupidity.
You find your situation confining?
A bit.
I would think this would be an opportunity for reflection.
I try to avoid that.
Then she gets upset, because after willingly submitting to the villains, giving them what they want, and allowing them to imprison her, and thereby giving them all the leverage, she is shocked to learn that they may not give her what she wants in return.
Hey! Hey! We had a deal!
You stupid!
Meanwhile, the villain ship arrives to this new galaxy, and they take turns dropping lore exposition about this planet.
Where's Peridea? The ancient home of my ancestors for definitely. The Jedi Archive spoke of this place. The end of the migration route used by the Star Whales as they traversed the void from one galaxy to the other. My people were among the first to harness and ride the creatures in the days before time was counted.
The whales came here to die. Peridea is a graveyard.
Again, I like to imagine that these whales accept their deaths by plastering themselves into the side of this planet at light speed. The mental image of a big dumb animal being so fast that it can turn itself into a super nuke is endlessly amusing. Like, imagine if a goat could do that. It's just trotting along, happy as can be, and then a rat jumps out and spooks it. So wapoom! It just careens itself into the side of a mountain at reality warping speeds to try and get away. The possibilities are endless, and because of that, I love space whales. They are the sole reason why this show is perfect. Anyhow, the villains land on the planet, and they encounter more witches.
More witches?
They call Sabine a stinky Jedi.
It reeks of Jedi.
And just in case her handcuffs weren't enough, they use super duper laser restraints on her, and then they drag her to a new prison. She continues to get angry at them for not playing nice, but hopefully this is a learning experience for her, because she put herself in this situation in which they could just easily kill her without a second thought. Willingly putting yourself at the mercy of your enemies, in hopes that they will give you stuff in return, is an incredibly dumb idea, but thankfully for Sabine, it'll eventually work out just fine. Darth Santa gives meta commentary about how the future of this franchise is destined to go nowhere.
Fall of the Jedi, rise of the Empire. It repeats again and again and again.
We cut back to Sabine, for some reason, as she sticks her hand out at stuff with no results. Then Thrawn shows up.
Wow.
Yep, there he is. Mission accomplished. Easy peasy. The years have not been kind to this man, but otherwise he's just the same as when he left. It's refreshing really, because sometimes expectations don't need to be subverted, and having a story with a straight path that has no twists and turns whatsoever is equally as valid. We want Thrawn back, just as he was, and despite the impossible odds of getting him back, that's exactly what we'll do. Thrawn appears within the same disheveled Star Destroyer that he left in, alongside a ragtag army of peppermint stormtroopers. Seeing them show up like this is great, because it actually fuels the imagination for what a better show could have looked like. All contrivances aside, it would be fascinating to witness a single Star Destroyer get cut off from the rest of the galaxy, and get trapped on a hostile new world, in which the crew would have to pull together some unorthodox methods of maintaining order amongst themselves, and figuring out how to survive. It would be a difficult task, as nothing could have prepared them for such a scenario, but since they have such a great leader to rally them, they just might get by. It would be entertaining to use each episode to explore the different corners of the ship's crew, as they come up with ways to keep their ship running, keep everyone healthy, and survey the dangerous territory to try and find a means to escape, with them progressively growing more ragged and weary as time goes on. A show like that would be awesome. However, since it doesn't exist, we'll just have to deal with this current show instead. Thrawn says hello and introduces everyone to his captain. He has a face helmet. I don't like that. They established that it'll take roughly 3 days for them to prepare for a journey home, which will give ample amounts of time for the heroes to fuck everything up for them. Thrawn and Darth Sana admire each other's burly bellies. Apparently they eat pretty good in this foreign world. They then allow Sabine to speak with Thrawn. Thankfully Thrawn is a chill dude, and just allows Sabine to have all her stuff back and walk away freely to go find Ezra like she wanted to, but he warns her that Ezra may be dead.
It's also quite possible that your friend is dead.
If you survived, I'm sure he's doing just fine.
Sabine is correct. She wanders around a bit, and boop, there's Ezra, perfectly happy and healthy, living amongst these snail people, whom Sabine can communicate perfectly with, despite them inhabiting a completely different galaxy.
Yes.
It should be noted that the captain hypes this planet up as a dangerous place full of dangerous people.
Be warned. Nomads wander this wasteland and prey upon each other for survival.
But once she's actually out there, she finds cute little doofy snail people instead. Expectations subverted. Entertainment achieved. Behind the scenes, Thrawn and Darth Sana plot to use Sabine to find Ezra so that Sana can kill them both. Not sure why he needed her to do it. Finding Ezra seemed pretty easy. She did have to fight some scary guys, but her plot armor was too powerful for that to matter. Aside from that, she just had to talk to the first person she encountered. The witch is concerned that Thrawn is going to use too few stormtroopers to eliminate Ezra with, to which he responds by saying that their escape is the number one priority, and it doesn't matter if Ezra and Sabine are left stranded here alone, which may make you wonder why they're even bothering to interact with Ezra at all, considering they could have just killed or confined Sabine, and Ezra would be left completely clueless to their escape plan. Also, if you're concerned with preserving stormtrooper lives, wouldn't it be smarter to attack with the largest force possible, to ensure the greatest odds of your victory being a success? If you throw out a small, easily defeatable number of stormtroopers, then that will just result in them being easily defeated. I'm sorry, I'm thinking too much. And thinking is wrong. Just consume product. Thrawn is a great leader because the show says so. Sabine does a funny with his space horse for a long time. Bathroom break. Then she finds the funny snail people, speaks their language somehow, and they take her right to Ezra where they have a big wholesome hug. Easy peasy. Guy goes missing on an alien planet, and literally the first person she talks to knows where he is. Trials and tribulations aren't fun, you see. The best stories have adventures that start and end within minutes, so that they can pad out the rest of their runtime with drawn out sequences of forced humor and slow paced filler. For those who don't know who Ezra is, he is yet another Jedi that survived the reign of the Empire, because apparently we don't have enough of these guys running around.
That boy is our last hope.
No. There is another. It's another. It's another. It's another. It's another.
Ezra wants to know how Sabine found him, but instead of divulging that she made a deal with the enemy that could lead to a second galactic civil war if they don't urgently try to stop it, she says she just wants to be happy and tells him not to worry about it.
How did you get here?
Let's not talk about that. Not right now.
Sabine?
Hey, I just want to be happy that I found you.
The witches warn of another Jedi arriving to this planet, and Thrawn suspects it to be Ahsoka. The first witch claims that Darth Sana assured Ahsoka's death, but Thrawn tells her to not underestimate a Jedi. Because yeah, didn't you know that if you push a Jedi off a cliff and leave them to drown for 24 hours, they can just have a dream with their genocidal buddy, in which they simply choose not to die.
I choose to live.
And then they respawn at full health. It's Star Wars. Death has literally zero consequence. Thrawn says he wants to use dark magic, and then the episode ends. So that's it for this goofy show for now. Isn't it the best? See you in part 3.